YXBA is back, and I'm ready to mash some more buttons.
Tiger uppercut!
So, for a couple of generations now, people have been saying this is the last traditional console generation. And I've been one of the few people out there saying, nah, I don't really think so. Traditional console generations are here to stay. But, as it turns out, I guess I was wrong, because things are getting out of control, and they're getting a little bit crazy. Gone are the days of consoles launching at or near the same timing, and everybody arguing over which console has the best specs, and that back and forth lasting 5 or 6 years before they do it all over again. It started a little bit with the Wii and Wii U doing something a little bit different, but people could quickly point to how Microsoft and Sony were still doing traditional consoles and traditional console generations. But even that's flipped upside down now. It started with a leak of PlayStation Neo, and now a leak that Microsoft is going to be releasing their response to the PlayStation Neo next year. I mean, if you're the type of gamer who wants to play third-party games on the best available piece of hardware, well, you're pretty much going to have to buy a new console every year, or in some cases, every other year or so. You basically would have to buy a PlayStation Neo this year, and then the new Xbox codenamed Scorpio next year. Maybe a supplemental computing device and a Nintendo NX the year after that. And then at this point, the cycle will likely start all over again with the launch of PlayStation 5. If this is beginning to sound fragmented and confusing, that's because it sure as heck is. Microsoft and Sony seem to be turning the console industry into Android. These systems will never be the dominant systems spec-wise long enough for third-party games to fully take advantage of them. That era is pretty much dead. People are going to get frustrated with always having something better just around the corner, and are going to become less likely to jump on board on day one of a new console launch. Gamers are just going to have to get used to the fact that you can't just pick the most powerful system and be good for 5 or 6 years. In some cases, you'll only be good for a year max before you have to feel like, geez, little Jimmy over there, well, he's got a better system than me. It's more powerful, and, I can see individual hair follicles. I can't see the individual hair follicles on my system. Personally, I think this represents a good opportunity for a company like Nintendo to come in and be the voice of reason. While Microsoft and Sony are competing with each other and learning new abilities faster than Naruto and Saske, Nintendo can quietly and confidently come in with a console which will stand out from the pack, with solid 1080p graphics, third-party games, great first-party games, and some unique system features. We all thought it was pretty rough that the Wii U was being replaced after just 4 years, but just take a look at what is going on in Redmond, Washington. Microsoft came out with a woefully expensive console, and forced Xbox fans to pay a premium for a console which came with Kinect, which was shortly thereafter ripped out and completely abandoned. People paid a lot more for this experience than the Wii U owners ever had to pay. And Wii U owners at least got an amazing lineup of first-party games from premium first-party studios. In Microsoft's case, they lost their best first-party studio in Bungie and closed down one of their other best in Lionhead Studios. And on top of that, most if not all of their first-party games are playable on PCs, which if you already owned one, costs you nothing to buy. Now, it sounds like 4 years after the launch of the Xbox One, they are going to be abandoning the system and replacing it with something much more powerful. Maybe it's the curse of Xbox consoles being named the Xbox One. I mean, that's exactly what happened to the original Xbox, the Xbox One, and again with, well, the Xbox One. I sure hope Nintendo never makes another Virtual Boy if this is anything to go by. Am I worried about the next Xbox system as a Nintendo fan? No, not really. If Super Metal Dave's thoughts are correct, Nintendo will be coming out with a new x86 system which is capable of gorgeous 1080p graphics and a sweet price point. I'm thinking either $299.99 or $349.99 tops, which will be a boatload less than what the next Xbox will cost. And if Emily Rogers gets her way, excuse me, if Emily Rogers is right and Nintendo is going to come out with what sounds like a Tegra Based system, it will likely cost $199.99 and sell like hotcakes. However, it would do so at the expense of many third-party games. Regardless of whether this new Xbox is coming out, Emily's system would end up going this route, so nothing has really changed here. However, my faith is in Super Metal Dave at this point, and I think that Nintendo will be able to compete directly with Sony and Microsoft, albeit without exceeding 1080p resolutions, save for smaller scale games like 2D first-party games and independent games, but they can do it at a much more competitive price point. As far as I see it, nothing has changed, and it only goes onwards and upwards from here if you're a Nintendo fan. This has been Colin Unger, reminding you to keep your thumbs glued to YXBA, and always remember to select Start. If you enjoyed this video, click like and subscribe.